In light of the recent protests and unrest in the United States and abroad, spurred by the unjust killing of George Floyd, we felt it necessary to take the time to address what's going on, not just in this intro, but as a very big part of this episode as well. There will be gaming and entertainment news in this episode for sure, but we felt it necessary to dedicate this episode to the memory of George Floyd, and to all those who are fighting and have fought every day for racial justice and equality in this country. We have a long way to go. America is broken, and only through listening to the black voices in our communities and holding ourselves accountable as white Americans can we hope to move forward towards the dream of equality that so many naively proclaim has been achieved, but is so painfully and obviously not a reality for African Americans in this country. We hear you. We're listening. We are trying and will try to do better, to address our prejudices, and to fight to give Black Americans the voice and respect they have been denied since the founding of this nation. We love you, everyone. Now, on to the show.
Greetings and welcome to episode 10 of the Nonsensory Podcast. If you aren't already, you can subscribe to us on podcast services, iTunes, and Spotify. And we're happy to announce we're now on Stitcher and Google Podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube by searching Nonsensory. On social media, we tweet at Nonsensory1, and you can find us on Facebook at Nonsensory Podcast. You can also support us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/nonsensorypod. We have 4 tiers of membership ranging from $1 to $20 and perks ranging from getting to vote in polls to getting to read a personal greeting at the start of our show. Evan.
Now that that's out of the way, how's it going, Joe?
What's going on?
Happy
man?
Sunday. Glad to be back on our normal scheduled day.
Yeah.
But a fun thing to announce is that we're also, on top of recording on Sundays, we're going to try to record on Wednesdays as well.
Yes.
So we'll have a little bit shorter episodes, but we'll have more content out, basically. So we can do 2 episodes, but they'll be a little bit more brief. We'll go through the news a little bit quicker, be a little more succinct, and we're really trying.
It actually is. The thought is, it doesn't sound like it would make sense, but we're hoping it eases the editing burden.
Yes.
And other things. So
yeah, it'll be easier on us, and then on the flip side, you guys will get more content.
Yep.
So there you go.
How's your week been, buddy?
It's been good. So my family's in town, and it's been good to see my niece and nephew and my sister and brother-in-law.
Cool. Yeah.
So we've just been spending a ton of time together. We basically hung out with them every day, and it's been great. And they're gonna be home for like 2 months.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna go away to see my brother-in-law's parents and stuff, and spend time, take the kids and stuff, and do that. But then they're coming back. We're all gonna go away and go spend some time away together with my other sister from Florida and her family, and then I think maybe we're gonna try to go camping one time, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a family-filled summer.
That's awesome.
It is really nice. I get to see you all the time, and like Eileen's family and stuff, and it's nice to it's good to have family time.
Yeah,
especially right now with everything going on. So,
well, my mom and like all my other siblings live on the other side of the state, which isn't that, it's not that far, but it's like Pennsylvania's huge.
It is. It's a very long state.
Yeah, they're 5 hours away. Yeah,
it's it's nuts.
And then my older sister and all my nieces and nephews, they live in Pahrump, Nevada, which is near I think it's 7 or 9 miles outside of Las Vegas.
I just started to think of the Christmas song. As soon as you said.
So I completely understand. Like I really miss my nieces and nephews out there, and I hope that they listen. I love you guys. You are sorely missed.
Yeah. Shout out to family members. We love you.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Tales from the Arcanist and thearcanist.io. The Arcanist serves up bite-sized science fiction, fantasy, and horror from independent authors all over the globe. Everything is about a 5-minute read or less, so these little bite-sized tales are easy to binge when you have a moment on your lunch break, or perhaps when you're planted firmly on the toilet. The Arcanist also has essays about modern culture, the art of writing, the history of fiction, and much more. Their weekly fiction podcast, Tales from the Arcanist, is a similarly bite-sized listen that collects 2 stories, one brand new and one from their archive, and delivers the spooky and strange fresh to your ears. To check out thearcanist.io or to submit a work of your own, visit the link in the description. You can find their podcast, Tales from the Arcanist, there as well, or find it on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or Apple Podcasts.
Okay, I'm hitting the button. So, in our first order of news, we'll jump right into it. We're trying to be on point. So, this one's near and dear to me, so I'm going to actually read this one off.
Take it away.
But SGDQ, Summer Games Done Quick, will be online only this year, which I'll just read the article real quick. It's from PC Gamer. The writer is Andy Chalk. The quote from the article: "We would like to thank the community for its patience while we were figuring out the best way to proceed with Summer Games Done Quick 2020. GDQ Director of Marketing and Business Development Kasumi Yogi said, "We're excited to continue showcasing some of the most talented speedrunners in the world while observing best practices to keep everyone safe in the midst of this global pandemic. Summer Games Done Quick 2020 Online, as it's officially known, will run from August 16th to the 23rd in support of Doctors Without Borders. Last year's event raised more than $3 million for the organization. Details are up at gamesdonequick.com. So this, like, if the whole online only thing...
I was keeping the count.
If the whole online only thing is confusing to you, then you're probably familiar with the GDQs. It's already all online, at least from the audience perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, they do normally have like a live audience there of a few people. So I mean, it's a little weird because have you ever watched any of the GDQ?
Yeah. I haven't watched like a official broadcast, but I've definitely watched like clips from people doing stuff there. Yeah.
Right. And they do their run in live in front of a whole bunch of people, a whole room full of people.
And they kind of just talk about it the whole time too.
Yeah. And so I feel like it's going to be really hard to keep that energy. I don't know. I'm interested to see how it goes.
I'm sure it's going to be different for the people that are actually taking part in it because like you said, they take part in front of a live audience, so you kind of feed off that audience.
Yeah.
A bit. But for anybody that doesn't know what Game is Done Quick is, it's basically just a thing that speedrunners do for charity, and speedrunners just try to run through a game as quickly as they can using whatever method. There's different times where
there's glitch runs, there's glitchless runs, there's 100% runs,
but all this stuff basically just goes towards charities to help raise money. It's a really good cause, and I guess this year they're doing it for Doctors Without Borders. Probably because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
Because if they had to cancel the show because of the pandemic, it would make sense for them to want to embrace that as the charity that they do. So,
I mean, every year they do millions for some charity. For a long time, it was cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what exactly.
I think for a while it was like breast cancer.
Yeah, and I mean they're awesome. They're awesome guys, and it's really wholesome fun because you're not. For the most part, there's been a couple of times where things happen, like stupid arguments and things. But for the most part, they really do a good job of making it a family fun kind of thing.
Yeah, it appeals to a good cause that everybody can get behind, and they also have speedrunners going through so many different kinds of titles that I'm sure that if
there's something that will appeal to you.
Exactly, there's something for everybody there.
So that one's close to my heart. Definitely support them.
Yeah, if you can, go on and watch and donate. We're definitely going to be watching at some point. So if we're moving on, we're going to go talk about the Valorant launch. Valorant just launched this week. It's the new first-person shooter take on, it's Riot's first attempt at a first-person shooter, Riot being the League of Legends people that took the world by storm and basically dominate the whole MOBA stage and basically create an entire esports industry for themselves, and so they're trying to branch out into different kinds of games. So Valorant's going to be their first FPS attempt, and it's kind of like a Counter-Strike Go competitor, but with Overwatch abilities. And so, following the article here from PC Gamer, this is by Fraser Brown. It says, following a beta that apparently saw an average of 3 million players a day diving in, Valorant is now live. Valorant hasn't launched with a competitive mode, but there is one on its way. Our initial focus is making sure our service is stable before activating competitive matchmaking, says Riot. Competitive will be available after a few patches.
I mean, now there was more to that article, but when I was putting this together, those were the main points that, because it's just basically the article is like, hey, it launched today.
Right. Yeah.
So I wanted to bring this out because I thought maybe we could talk about this. 3 million players a day.
Well, yeah, it's. I mean, I think that it's partially due. Like, Riot's pretty smart because they're doing they're taking their name and they're saying like, look, millions and millions and millions of players already play this game that we're like top class at making, and everybody. CSGO is like one of the top games on Steam consistently. So they're like, well, let's just combine our name and expertise with making competitive games with this genre that is huge and try to convert all these CSGO players.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they have to be feeling the hurt right now. Like
Valve, you mean? Like the CSGO community?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. When I watch it, it looks very much like CSGO to the point where like when I've seen it, I haven't really even... I've been confused at what I'm watching because like the weapons look very close, but then they start using like the abilities from not the same abilities, but like Overwatch-esque abilities in the middle of these fights. And I think that there's like a very big audience for CSGO because of like the hardcore audience of it. But I like that they're taking that, but also implementing some more friendly things like abilities and stuff like that give people that aren't just like, laser shots, pulling off headshots across maps and stuff. It gives them a chance too.
Yeah.
And it runs apparently the game's just going to run on like all kinds of different hardware and stuff. So like they're just putting out the widest umbrella that they possibly can to get people to play it.
I'm going to jump in. I was actually going to download it yesterday, but
Well, just going off of the numbers that they said for the beta, like imagine when it's live.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be interested to see a month from now or 2 weeks from now to see how many people are actually playing this game. How many people are watching it on Twitch?
Could we see 30 million like Warzone?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, these free games, I think, definitely hit this part of the market where, like, if you want to be a competitive game, but you also want to release these days, like, it's going to be really hard for, like, a competitive FPS to come out that people actually have to pay for. I think that from here on out, it's going to be the free model is going to be the dominating thing, just because it's just the best way to get your game in as many hands as possible.
Yeah, I do wonder how they like. I know they sell skins and stuff like League of Legends, like they have to be making a killing off of, but it's like, how do you really make that much money off of it? Like it's really,
the thing for me is it's just weird because like I have the same thought where I'm like, well, okay, you're not spending $60 on a game. But then they come out and just talk about how much money that they make from these recurring microtransactions every couple months, and it's just mind-boggling because you're like, nobody's buying that much stuff, and like, no, the numbers back it up that the people are spending so much money on it. It's weird coming from somebody like me that never spends money on that kind of stuff.
Well, see, my policy, like whenever I'm playing, like I don't really play mobile games, but every once in a while you'll stumble across something that's like they put a lot of effort into this game that I just got for free. I'll throw them a couple bucks. I'll buy something I normally wouldn't buy. Like I did that in Pokemon Go. It's like it's free, and there's so much that you can always do. It's like, okay, I'll throw.
Right, like Colin did the same thing in Warzone, where like Warzone's free, but he spent like $10 on the season pass or whatever, just because like he didn't spend $60 on the game. So like, whatever, it's $10.
I don't know. It seems to work. So, do you want me to jump into the second half of this news?
Yeah, this will be another like Valorant adjacent piece of news.
Could Valorant be coming to consoles soon? So this is an article from Destructoid, and I forgot to take out the person who's...
Chris Carter.
Valorant may make its way to console eventually, but not anytime soon. Speaking to GameSpot, executive producer Anna Donlan confirmed that Riot is definitely prototyping console versions right now, but stopped short of fully confirming that they will actually be released. Donlan noted that the team is not entirely sure that the game translates to console play. They expand on that principle, saying, if we feel like we can deliver this experience on those platforms, we absolutely will, but we really want Valorant to stand for a certain type of gameplay and a certain type of experience. That means if Riot feels it needs to compromise on any part of the core Valorant experience to make it work on console, then it won't happen.
Which is pretty cool, I think. Because like we were talking about, they want it to get into as many hands as possible, so putting it on consoles as well as PC would help that.
Right. And they're going to benefit from this whole this cross-play thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just
Cross-play, cross-generation. You know, if you don't want to go out and buy a new PS5, like Valorant comes out on your PS4 and you can download it for free. Sweet. Cool.
Or this whole it won't happen anytime soon bit is we'll wait till PS5.
Right. That's true. I feel like even if they wait till PS5 and it's like a couple months into the life cycle of PS5, like they'll still probably bring it on to PS4 just because why not?
Yeah.
I find it interesting though because like with League of Legends, you know, it's like almost like an RTS, and it requires that you have like a mouse and keyboard because there's so many inputs, and just, you know, if you've ever seen anybody play League, it's just click, 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 click the whole time.
Yeah.
So it feels like it would be really weird to bring to a console, but I mean, we have plenty of shooters on console, so it seems weird that like I wonder what specifically they're talking about the Valorant experience that they're worried about compromising, because it is a shooter at the end of the day.
Yeah, I really don't know. But I do understand that perspective as far as the controls. But I mean, there's always a way to trim things down.
Yeah.
You may lose out on some functionality, but I mean, like classically Diablo, you know, that's a game that you have a billion different inputs when you're playing on a computer, but they made it work on the PS4 with Diablo 3.
Yeah, I mean,
and Xbox. They
still have a pretty huge community for that game. I have some friends that have definitely played Diablo 4 Diablo 3 on both, and they hate the console controls.
Oh yeah.
So like there definitely
like
is you know.
And I think that might be what they're talking about.
I suppose, but it depends, because you're thinking about like, okay, how vocal is the people that don't like it going to be versus the people that do, you know.
It worked for Diablo.
Right.
That's what I was that's what I was kind of getting at. I think it's worth a shot.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, it is Sega's 60th anniversary. So they're celebrating with a Game Gear Micro, which is awesome to me because the first the first handheld that I had was not a Game Boy. It was a Game Gear.
Oh, really?
It was another one of those things where like I got it from a yard sale. I'm pretty sure the same people that I got my Sega and my Sega CD from also they were just selling all their old Sega stuff. They were just like getting rid of all their consoles, and they had like both of the Sega consoles and the Game Gear. And so I got it, and it basically did require a backpack to use. But this one will not, because it's going to be the Game Gear Micro, and it's like as big as the palm of your hand. It's like
smaller.
It's got like a 1.5 inch screen, basically.
It's very tiny.
So according to this Tech Radar article by Adam Vijeska, I think, is Sega is celebrating its 60th anniversary in Japan by releasing a Game Gear Micro on October 6th. A console so small that it barely looks like it will be functional. The palm-sized Game Gear Micro will cost 4,980 yen, around $45, or 35 euro, or $65 Australian, and comes with a minuscule 1.15-inch screen. It will also be available in a variety of colors, including blue, yellow, red, and the standard black. Each color has different games included, so Sega's probably hoping that fans will buy more than one version of the teeny-weeny console. If you do opt to buy all 4 colors of the Game Gear Micro, which can be bought as part of one convenient package for 27,255 yen, or about $250, you'll get a big window micro lens that mounts on the console and makes its screen usable to human beings. That's a great write-up. Good job, Adam.
Yeah, that's a good article.
So, yeah, I guess... I don't have it here. Oh, okay. There it is. So the black model will come with Sonic the Hedgehog, Puyo Puyo 2, Outrun, and Royal Stone, which is probably the one that I would get. But the blue model includes Sonic Chaos, Gunstar Heroes, Sylvan Tail, and Baku Baku Animal. The yellow model lets you play Shining Force Gaiden, Encel, Jason no Kunihei, Shining Force, the Sword of Damn, why did I pick this one to read? Shining Force Gaiden, Final Conflict, and Nozo Puyo Aruru no Ru. And finally, the red model features Revelations, the Demon Slayer, Megami Tensei Gaiden, Last Bible Special, the GG Shinobi, and Columns. So again, I don't think that I know like most of these games. I recognize maybe 3, but this is also geared towards Japan.
Yeah.
So I'm sure these are more popular classic like retro games in Japan. And I wonder if they'll bring this same idea to Western audiences with different games.
I have a feeling that a lot of the games there are maybe games we would recognize with English titles.
Maybe,
So they're probably actually just the Japanese titles to the games.
Right, yeah.
But,
I recognize Shining Force, but like
and Megami
right.
Shin Megami Tensei.
Right.
You know. So but my first handheld, actually, like, we had in our house like the old Game & Watch-esque games. They're like terrible, like there's a black figure and it would like
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, this reminds me kind of like that.
Well, we had those first, and then I actually did get for Christmas one year I got a what was it called? The Game Boy Mini. It wasn't the color.
The Micro.
The Game Boy Micro?
Yeah, I think it was the Micro.
Where, yeah. And my brother had the original Game Boy. And I got with it a copy of Blue. Well, at one point I agreed to, like, my buddy wanted to play Pokemon, and I'd already beaten it.
Yeah.
And so we agreed to swap. And like that we would trade back, and he had, it wasn't the Game Gear, it was the other one. What's the big one?
That is the Game Gear. Game Gear's
N-Gage?
Oh,
N-Gage.
the N-Gage, yeah. That was the Nokia thing, right?
No, that's not what. No, Game Gear, there was a bigger one from.
I think there was like a Game Gear and then like a bigger version of the Game Gear, I think.
Oh my goodness, I don't remember what it was called. nonsensorypod@gmail.com. Anybody, if you can,
or in the comments, just give us a shout out and say what the hell are you talking about? This is what it's called.
But it was massive, and yeah, like you said, like you had to have a book bag to carry this thing around, and
it took like 6 AA's and like would die in like 5 hours. And stuff.
It was garbage, but it was backlit long before Game Boy was ever backlit.
I mean, I really liked the experience of playing the damn thing, but like the technology wasn't there that made it really just like kind of cumbersome to use.
Well, bottom line is, like, I wanted my Game Boy back. I was like, give me that back.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to trade back. So
of course
that tells you a little bit of.
Yeah, I think like all the comfort features don't justify like having to have 6 batteries and change them out every 5 hours or so.
And there was, well, at least as far as his selection, there wasn't too many games that he had.
Yeah.
You know, so it was kind of like.
From this Micro thing, I don't know why. I'm sure it's completely different than what I'm going to say, but I feel like it reminds me of, you ever get they were like the little handhelds that you would buy that basically were just like one game.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
It reminds me of those. They're like kind of just cheapo, kind of.
Yeah.
It was like if your parents didn't want to go out and buy you a Game Boy, they could just like get you a game that was handheld.
Yeah, and it was probably like $5.
Yeah, and it sucked. They all sucked.
Yeah.
I think that there was an official like Sonic one of those, but it just played like the original Sonic, and it was like pared down like only a few levels. Maybe I'm wrong. I might just be misremembering this.
No, I feel like I remember that. Again, comment if you know something.
Yeah, and happy birthday to Sega.
Yes.
We're all surprised that you're still around because, back at like the start of the 2000s, everybody thought that they were done for.
Well, yeah, so I'm going to just go ahead and jump ahead, but before...
Oh, yeah. Dude.
It seems like all of this Sega news, it seems like they're making some moves, like maybe they're trying to, I don't know, could we see them return as a console competitor?
I don't know. Okay.
And I'm going to get into this and then we can speculate a little bit. Mm-hmm. So this is an article from GameSpot. Stephen Wright writes, Thanks to some Japanese language news sources, we now know the nature of the big Sega reveal that was teased for this week's Famitsu. Pardon, I'm going to adjust my mic. The publisher is working on some kind of initiative that is dubbed fog gaming. While it's not exactly clear what this is, or if it's comparable to cloud gaming services like Google Stadia, according to analyst Serkan Toto, it will likely involve using the guts of arcade machines during off hours. They'll be good for more than just playing Dug Dug and Street Fighter now, because they're, the machines are a lot more powerful now, arcade machines.
Yeah.
And arcade is a much bigger deal in Japan than it is here. Arcades are basically dead in the States.
Yeah, and they're really not that alive in Japan either.
But they're still there.
But they still do exist as a thing.
So there's hair on my mic. Cat hair all over
my cat came and rubbed her butt all over your mic.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder, like, what's Sega up to?
So
could they be trying to get in while cloud gaming is still in its infancy? It allows them a shot back in to the console war without having to have a physical console. Potentially.
I don't know. It seems like a way for them to repurpose things that are like kind of like cheaper, because like arcades aren't that cheap. I'm not saying that like an arcade cabinet is cheap or whatever, but it's cheaper than going and setting up a server farm or something like that. So maybe they're trying to repurpose these older machines that people don't use as much to try to leverage them towards something else. But I don't know. It's too vague of a description of what exactly they're talking about for me to make any sort of actual judgment on it. But
if done right, it would allow maybe arcades, which again are a much bigger deal in Japan. It would allow them to make money off the machines when they normally wouldn't be bringing in any money.
When they're closed.
Which makes the arcades more profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So you can keep them alive. And it will allow people to, maybe if it's along the lines of cloud gaming, Google Stadia and all that.
Yeah.
Then
well, okay, if they're using these arcade cabinets to allow people to stream from them or something like that, I get, maybe that's what they're talking about. If that's the case, then what happens when they're open? Are those just streaming services just not available because people are using the machines? I don't understand.
I don't know. We'll have to see how this one plays out. It's just interesting.
I think before they announced this whole Game Gear Micro thing, the part of the rumor was that they were actually going to partner with Xbox to release Sega branded Xbox Series X's in Japan.
That was pretty much shot down.
Yeah, no, that's not a thing. But I don't think that this means that Sega's going to make a play towards consoles anytime soon, because it's not like this what happened with Epic, where they had a huge blow up game that made them billions of dollars that allowed them to then create their own online store and start selling games through that and then start buying exclusivity and stuff. They don't Sega hasn't had some huge property that's blown up that everybody played that gave them a huge windfall of cash that they can use to expand their business. They're still relatively hurting for money in terms of
you think this
major publishers.
You think maybe this is a last gasp? They've been around for 60 years, and they're
I don't think it's a
push.
last gasp. I just think that they're just trying to leverage their anniversary to try to get their name out there some more. But
what's the last thing that Sega's done that's actually been relevant?
The Yakuza series, which is fairly unknown in the West. It's not unknown, but it's not a huge series in the West, but it has been going on forever in Japan, and it is still relatively huge. That's why I think they're just bigger in Japan. That's why most of these things are dealing with Japan.
Yeah.
The fog gaming and the Game Boy Micro.
Yeah, maybe they never make a push over here. Maybe we never see the Micro.
Yeah, who knows? It's got to be fairly cheap to make, though, considering how tiny it is.
I think I'd shell out $45.
Yeah, it would depend on what the games are in it.
Yeah.
If they gave me one that was all Sonic all the Sonic games for $45 in this little thing, I'd get it.
Yeah. And then make that hopefully they make that magnifying glass
Purchasable. Yeah.
a separate accessory.
Yeah, for sure. So according to this next article, I'm pretty stoked because we've already gone and talked about our desire to see like Mulan and Tenet and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So according to the National Association of Theater Owners, it expects most theaters globally to be open for business again in time for Tenet's release in July. This comes from a GameSpot article from Eddie Maycock, and it basically says that thanks to sorry, wrong thing. 90% of movie theater market will be open by mid-July, Hollywood Group says. So, shoot.
I mean, basically, they're saying that worldwide, they're talking about 90% of theaters should reopen in July, sometime in July, in time for Tenet, and that would also mean in time for Mulan. And the main reason I wanted to throw this into the news today is because I'm still wondering how they're going to pull off the movies.
I think it'll be like every other seat and every other row.
Yeah.
Or maybe not even every other seat. I think that they'll just figure out how many seats is 6 feet and then just have people be those many seats apart. But like you said before, we were discussing, I don't think we're going to have concessions or anything.
No, definitely not. Which still makes me wonder: are you going to be allowed to bring outside like food or snack, or, drinks and snacks and whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. And will you are they going to up ticket sales or ticket prices
to account for how fewer people are in?
Yeah, because every viewing you'll only be able to have like maybe a third of the people in the theater.
Maybe less than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they might still do concessions because they have started to open restaurants and stuff, and people are allowed to eat in restaurants if you're like 6 feet apart or whatever. So maybe concessions will be open. But one thing that the article says is even if theaters are technically allowed to open in July, it remains to be seen if audiences will show up in numbers reflecting the pre-COVID-19 days. Mark Zaroti, the CEO of movie chain Cinemark, said during an earnings call this week that he has been speaking with Tenet studio Warner Brothers, and they remain optimistic about the movie coming to theaters on schedule in July. And it is noted that the trailer's description page still showed that the July 17th release date is still planned. So it's looking very likely that this is the case.
I actually don't worry. I don't worry at all about whether or not there's going to be a swarm to the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as they confidently project that they're going to follow the rules and they're going to find a way to be safe,
mm-hmm.
people want out of the house.
Yeah.
And people are going to go to the movies.
Yeah, I think you're right, and
as long as they're not charging $60 a ticket.
Yeah, if it's the same price and stuff, then yeah. But I don't know. Like, I'd still be kind of hesitant, and I would be even more hesitant if it was like $25 for a ticket because they have to make their money up somehow. But I would like to go see Tenet. Maybe we can go see it. And then we can do another like movie review like we did with Devs.
Maybe
we could do like a whole Tenet episode.
Whoops.
We could do a whole Tenet episode.
Especially if it's as heady as like Inception or the Batmans, then it would give us plenty to talk about. So
yeah, for sure. I'm super excited for the next Nolan film.
Absolutely. Okay. Early Last of Us 2 review.
Oh yeah. So this is just kind of like I put it in there. It's just based on like 2 hours with the first 2 hours with the game, basically. But somebody got, to the embargoes are still out, but I guess they're letting people have like their first impressions out.
Yeah.
So
I'll just read the quick snippet at the top of this article. It's from Tech Radar, written by Vic Hood. The Last of Us 2 doesn't seem to be simply a rehash of its predecessor. Instead, it elevates the original formula, adding some small but vital features while keeping the elements that made us fall in love with the original. So they have a for and against column. So the for column, combat more fluid with more elements, pockets of exploration with pockets of exploration with plenty to collect and more upgrade options, which from what we've seen in the state of plays of how upgrading is going to work in this game, I mean, I'm really, really excited.
So I went through and go ahead. Yeah,
Well,
finish.
the against column, it just says we wish we could explore more. I wonder what that's supposed to mean, because their claim is that there's so much to see, you can't do it in one playthrough.
Yeah, I think that they sold it as more of that it would be more open than it probably actually is. You know, there are like small things that you can find, but it's not as like, maybe they're just not as worth it. You know, like one of the encounters was like I went into a room to unlock a safe or something, and then there was like an ambush from a group of enemies that I wouldn't have come into contact with had I not gone to explore that. So, you know, technically it's a piece of content that you could have missed, but like it's not really that big of a deal. You know, it's just like a little encounter. But
Yeah.
So if that's like the extent of the exploration is just like you go find some more audio logs or something that you might have missed or something like.
I was under the impression that there was like entire bits of story arc that you would miss.
Well, yeah, there could be. I mean, like when I say like audio logs, like there could be, you know, pieces of story that flesh it out more, but I don't think that you would necessarily miss it. Like if you came to me and you were like, "Hey, I found this whole piece of content that you didn't see," but then it was like, you know, like just like some side character's story that doesn't really matter to the main story.
No, I was really hoping that it would meant that there was like, you could see Ellie interacting with other people and get bits of a story that would not come out if you didn't, you know, discover them. That is what I was really hoping for.
Well, and again, this is only the first 2 hours that this guy had with the game, so there could be more. You know, that's again, it's like one of those things where it's like, I wish there was more exploration. It's like, well, maybe there's.
You're only 2 hours in,
right? Maybe the first 2 hours are a little more restrictive, and then it's a little more open. Maybe maybe there are a few more levels that are more open or whatever. But
I mean, classically, if you play Final Fantasy 13, the game doesn't open up until like 20, 30 hours in.
Right. In terms of the upgrade options, though, I noticed when I was reading through, it basically said like there were different trees that you could put stuff into. For your skills, and you wouldn't be able to unlock everything, so you just kind of had to pick and choose. So I think that that's what they mean with more upgrade options, is like there's more options that you'll have that you could pick from, you know, put into different trees, and you could cater your play style. So that seems pretty fun. Like it'd be cool to make a stealth Ellie and a combat Ellie.
Yeah, and just the way that they had it working, where like they're trying, if they deliver on that, how did he phrase it? It was like every upgrade is supposed to have like a significant feel.
Yeah.
Like it's not something that's going to go unnoticed, or, you know, like tiny improvements. It's like if you make your gun do more damage or it's more stable, then it's like you'll feel it.
Yeah, no, they definitely need to make those things like actually noticeable. If it's just like, well, you put some points into this ammo tree and then you just get like 5 extra bullets or something, then it's like, oh, I mean, I guess that's better. I mean, but it doesn't seem like that would like change the game all that much. But if there's, it depends. I just need to see it. But
yeah,
the review seemed fairly positive, is what I'll say.
If it's not like Dark Souls and the stagger,
yeah,
what's that called?
The parry.
No. Oh man, there's a stat that famously, like, basically didn't do anything.
Oh yeah, I think it was luck or like charisma or something. I think it was something like that. Or charm.
Stance.
Yeah, I think it was
whatever that's called. Poise.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Poise. It's supposed to make you harder to stagger if you have higher poise, but it basically doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was the conversation that went nowhere.
Oh, what was it? Oh, I think that was you.
Oh, oops. Okay.
So the next piece of news is something dear to my heart, Joe.
Oh, yes.
Because we have basically almost gotten complete confirmation of a Bloodborne PC port. This is from heavy.com in an article by Jack Fenimore. There's a bunch of stuff that it references. This is basically just like a summary article that makes it a lot easier to just go through and talk about everything. But there was a streamer by the name Casey Explosion confirmed with an anonymous source that the game will be coming to PC and that she has a lot of faith in the company who's doing the port. You won't be disappointed. She basically threw out, she tweeted a leak listing on Steam, but it was made to draw attention to several charities benefiting the BLM. And then she asked for anyone to provide her with credible information. And then somebody basically gave her $100 and the tip. And then she gave the donation and was able to, and then she donated the money, but then she also confirmed confirmed the news, basically. And then shortly after Casey Explosion tweeted out the news, Wario64, who is known for discovering leaks that are confirmed shortly afterwards, such as most of the games in the Walmart leak of 2018, teased that a port of Bloodborne is in the near future. You can the tweet says you can play Bloodborne on PC with PS Now or wait a little longer. And then anybody that listens to Kinda Funny, one of the co-hosts is Imran Khan, and he basically came out and tweeted even more confirmation after that, saying, not going to comment specifically on Bloodborne on PC rumors, but suffice to say FromSoft fans probably have a lot of reasons to be happy in the next 2 years. So it seems like the game's going to come to PC, and there were some hints in there about it coming to PS5 as well, with like updated resolution and FPS and stuff. But this is one of the games that I've been dying to have on PC, and just for the performance advantages, and I'm 100% going to buy this if it comes to PC. So,
yeah, that's exciting. Bloodborne is a game I love to watch people play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, love it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I suck at games, and Bloodborne's kind of hard. So I don't really play it that much. But
it definitely did take me like many, many hours of throwing my head against the wall before I actually got it, you know?
Yeah.
So I can understand if you don't want to do that.
There's at one point, very extremely early on, you get to like a troll type thing. I'm not having a hard time remembering. It was a while ago. And he's like guarding these doors. Okay.
Oh, the Dark Beast Parl, yeah.
No, I don't think. Is that what it was?
Was he like a giant werewolfy thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
But he has a big hammer. He's like a nobody, as far as I know. It's just like a regular old enemy.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I could not beat that. I died like probably 300 times.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, okay, forget this.
Man, Joe, we need to do a playthrough of this game. If I had an actual proper capture card and we could...
We're working on it.
Well, we'll get there. Patreon.com. You can donate to us and get us to that.
Our first $80 on Patreon will go to getting us a capture card.
Yeah, and then we can capture a Bloodborne playthrough,
and we'll post it.
We'll buy a special cup, like a goblet, and I'll just hold it under your face, and we can collect all your tears.
And then you can buy a vial of Joe's tears. Actually cried out while playing Bloodborne.
It's instead of Gamer Girl bathwater, it's Gamer Boy tears.
Okay. Next article is there is a new Silent Hill game coming to PS5. So there's been a lot of stuff going on with this. Last week there was like an in-game demo. Was that also in Fortnite, or was that something else?
That was in Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was another demo somewhere else. Someone
recreated the PT demo inside of Half-Life Alyx.
That's what it was.
And which sounds terrifying.
Yes.
Which actually, I have VR and I have Half-Life Alyx. Maybe we should
try it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this article is brought to us by Dalton Cooper. Rumors have been swirling about a potential new Silent Hill game for months, and now even more details about the supposed game have leaked online. Fans should take this information with a grain of salt, as they should all video game leaks, but the information is coming from a source that has proven to be reliable in the past. I mean, I've heard that before, so yeah. But I have heard this person's name, so I don't know. Aesthetic Gamer, who has accurately leaked news on other horror games in the past, has revealed more information on the rumored Silent Hill PS5 reboot. I don't want a reboot. I want a new game.
Well, I think they might mean like a reboot in a sense that they're
rebooting the series?
Right. Yeah, I think that they might just be rebooting
Okay.
the series.
Okay. In a string of tweets, Aesthetic Gamer has claimed that production on Silent Hill PS5 game started in 2019 and that it is ongoing at Sony's Japan studio. The game is supposedly being directed by Kichiro Toyama. Is that correct? Who has also served at the creative director on the original Silent Hill. Let's see, they got the same composer. I mean,
oh no way! Oh man, Silent Hill 2's soundtrack is so good. It's so good. Like, I have one of the songs from it I regularly listen to, and it's fantastic. It's not like good for a video game song. It's like just genuinely an amazing like alt rock song.
So like one winged angel.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, where you could just like just put it on all the time.
Yeah, I'm already there. Anyway,
focus, Joe. Focus. Sorry,
So I mean, Silent Hill's one of those games that I always watched more than I actually played.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this is really cool. It might be my opportunity to jump in.
Many people cite Silent Hill 2 as like one of the best horror games of all time. So I've been meaning to go back and actually play it. It came out on PS2.
What do you remember? It was actually a while ago now. I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe it was like 5 or 6 years ago. There was this little teaser.
Yeah, PT.
Oh, that was the one?
That's the one that they remade in That's the one they remade in Half-Life Alyx. Yeah, the Kojima,
where you just walk through a hallway and
first person,
things just keep going. Oh, dude.
Then Konami removed it from PSN, and now nobody can access it, and people are literally spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars to buy PS4s that have PT still installed on it, because you can't get it. It's like gone forever. It's like lost to history.
Dude.
It was awesome.
Okay, 'cause I remember. Okay, I watched that video, and okay, so my boss at the time when I worked at Home Depot, and we worked nights. Okay. My boss told me about this, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna have to check that out." So by the time I got out, it was like it had to have been like winter or something. I don't remember exactly, but it was still dark when I left the store, because we get out like, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, but like 5:30 to 6:30 range. It was still dark out. I go and sit in my truck and I watch the video on YouTube, and I was so terrified.
Yeah.
Legit, I was so terrified watching the video that I waited until the sun came up to drive out of the parking lot.
That's fantastic. That reminds me of my Resident Evil 2 story, where like I ran into Mr. X and then ran away. And then when I got to the save room, I turned the game off. I couldn't play it anymore. Like,
that's fantastic.
I love horror games.
Yes, I do. I love it when they can pull off scaring you without doing things that are cheap.
Yeah, no jump scares or anything. It's just like,
I mean, you can have those, but like that's like a one-off. You're not going to pull off an overall eerie feeling with that. Like, but actually nailing it consistently. Like, Okay. So I'm excited.
I hope I don't know. Like, I want them to do PT as like a full game, but I also don't. Like, I wonder how it would be pulled out to a whole experience, because the PT thing is just like a short 20-30 minute demo or whatever. But the PT demo was done by Kojima. And this is a completely different director and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if they'll go back to like the third person thing that they've always done with Silent Hill. So it'll be interesting to see like if this does come out, and if this is announced alongside the launch of like PS5 with like when they come out and do the whole exclusive games reveal. This is rumored to be a PS5 game.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see when they bring it out if it is, like PT or if it's traditional Silent Hill.
It might be. They might keep the first person because first person kind of lends itself to horror in a special kind of way.
Yeah.
So they might keep that and just do something else.
Yeah.
Because I think you're kind of right. I don't know that would. I don't know how far you could expand that out and keep. I mean, you might be able to make something special with that. But if Kojima was involved, would they still be able to use that? Would he have any kind of claim to that? I mean, I don't know how that works.
No, I don't think that they would, because they basically, Konami and Kojima had a big falling out. So I don't think if Konami's in any way involved that they're going to bring Kojima in on it.
Well, that's what I mean. But I'm saying, would they be able to still use that idea, or does he have any kind of say in it?
I don't know. I don't think that he would have any say in it, but I'm not sure.
Because, I mean, it's theirs.
Right. Well, the funny thing is, like, we just talked about how people just really want PT because they've remade it so many different times. Like, people have made that demo in, like, the Unreal Engine and stuff like that, and just people are just...
Dude, put it in Unreal Engine 5.
People are dying for that. So
how awesome would that be?
It'll be really interesting to see which direction they go with it. So,
okay.
The next piece of news is the new release date for Call of Duty Modern Warfare Season 4 has been leaked. I think we talked about it. No, we didn't get a chance to talk about it on the last episode. But they basically delayed the release of Season 4 while all the protests are going on. And there's all this social and civil unrest going on. So they decided that it wasn't the right time. But according to this article from PC Games N, there's no author. That's weird. That's at the bottom. Anthony McGlynn is the author. It says, through data mining the files of Season 3 per Modern Warzone, Twitter user Geeky Pastimes discovered that the ending date had been altered from June 2nd to June 10th. This would mean the changeover will occur on what is a regular time for new Call of Duty updates in the evening of June 9th if you're in the US, and then the morning of June 10th if you're in the UK and Europe. They initially announced that right now it's time for those speaking up for inequality, justice, and change to be seen and heard. The message reads, "We stand alongside you." It was expected to roll out sometime June 3rd, containing several new weapons and maps and new operators. So, yeah, that's coming up soon. I think it's just for the base game of Modern Warfare, though. I don't know if it has anything to do with Warzone.
I just lost my whole train of... Oh, yeah. Okay, so amidst all of the things that are going on right now, Call of Duty did make that announcement. I know this is like only somewhat related to the article you just brought up, but they talked about... I can't believe I didn't put it in the doc, and I apologize for that. But they talked about trying to cut down on instances of racism and name like clan tags and racist things in names and stuff. It's about time.
Yeah, for sure. It's I don't want to be cynical and not give them credit for doing that, because like obviously it's a good thing that will happen, but it sucks that it took that long.
Yeah, what?
It shouldn't take like people protesting in the street for a week straight for them to go, let's get behind this stuff. It's like,
and not just that, but it's been a problem since the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
Like, why did it take so long?
People have been saying and asking for solutions to the abuse of that kind of stuff in Call of Duty forever. I'm very libertarian, and I've been through that before, and like I feel like people can say what they want, and there's like a part of me that's like, if you have racist jerks online saying racist things, at least you can see that and you can go, oh, well, I know who not to talk to. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you police it too far and then people can't say things, then it's like, well, you know what I mean? So there's kind of right.
given, but in a video game, you don't get to choose who you're going to lobby with.
Right. Yeah. It
And
just
stuff.
happens. You
Yeah.
just, especially in a game that's like, relies on matchmaking and stuff. You just get thrown into a match with a bunch of abusive people, and like, there's nothing you can do about it. Really, it's people love to say like, just mute people, just block people, and it's like that becomes tiring. It makes you not want to play the game eventually. Like you can only do that stuff so much before you're like, you know what, screw it. I'm just not gonna play this game anymore.
Yeah. And so I applaud them. I literally applaud them. Good job. But it took you too long.
Yeah.
Too long. One last comment on it though, and this is a bit more on the comical side. So I went to put a clan tag in. Now this was before all this.
Uh-huh.
I went to change my clan tag. So me and my buddy Stubbs used to always use the clan tag Hive, Hive. Okay.
Oh no. I know where this is going.
No. They won't let me use it. They're like, this is offensive. How?
Hive?
Hive.
Is it because it has HIV in it?
Probably.
Yeah.
But hive, like a hive of bees or like a hive of demons, like that's kind of where
Right.
and they won't let us use it. Like, why?
I don't know. That's bizarre.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's my gripe. But yeah. So good on them. I agree with you. Try not to be too cynical about it.
Uh-huh.
It's a step in the right direction.
Right.
So the next article, this is from Screen Rant. It's Cowboy Bebop live action series set to change phase character design. So Netflix's live action Cowboy Bebop will both honor the original and be more contemporary by toning down phase revealing costume from the anime. So does this go into who all's cast for stuff?
I
didn't see this.
I don't think that it does. No, but here.
Okay. So John Cho is going to be Spike, and that's awesome.
Yes. Okay. So we have Mustafa Shakir, who's I think he's playing Jet.
Yeah.
Here, I'm just gonna pull it up right now. Okay. John Cho, Mustafa Shakir, Daniela Pineda, and Alex Hassel have all been cast in lead roles in the series. Cho will star as Spike Spiegel. Shakir will play Jet Black. Pineda will play Faye, and I guess Hassel will play Vicious. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I recognize this Hassel guy. He looks like he'd be a pretty good Vicious, actually.
So I'm gonna read this. Netflix's live-action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop will tone down Faye's revealing costume from the anime. The Japanese animated television series, following a group of intergalactic bounty hunters led by the charismatic Spike Spiegel, ran for 26 episodes in the late 90s. It has been praised for its stylish use of the medium while incorporating a variety of different genres on top of an inimitable... I know this word.
Inimitable, yeah. It's like...
I know the word, I just never saw it spelled out, so I stumbled a little bit. Okay. Even with its limited run, Cowboy Bebop revolutionized the Western perception of anime. So this is absolutely... That last bit is so true.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's like it was 100% like one of my introductory things to anime in my lifetime.
Every episode, and even sometimes it switches in the episode, it feels like a different genre of show or of movie, where it just the tone is like always. But there's like the underlying theme kind of feels like a noir kind of thing. But it's just like funky, jazzy. I don't know. The whole show is just so brilliant. Space agey.
How do you feel? So John Cho, they had to delay a production of the show because John Cho got hurt while filming a scene. So I think that what I've read is that they have basically 3 episodes shot, but then they had to stop because of the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know when that means that the show will actually come out, but How do you feel about them changing Faye's character design?
With some anime, I would be behind it because a lot of anime have problems with the fan service thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for Faye's character, it doesn't make sense because that's the type of person she is. It's not that she's like promiscuous, but she just doesn't.
She's a femme fatale. She uses her sexuality
Exactly
as a tool for her to be able to, screw people over.
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't. I get it, but at the same time, like I usually just don't care about like puritanical stuff like that.
No, I agree with you, but it's part of her character.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's one thing if it's just like there's boobs and there's no excuse for it.
Yeah, and there's definitely instances of that in the anime where there's like certain camera angles and stuff like that, but like that's not the outfit, that's like the direction.
Yeah.
But
you can change that. But
right.
her, as far as her wearing revealing clothes, that's just, I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things where it's hit or miss because there's also it's like there's always an excuse.
Well,
I don't know.
There's a certain perspective that likes to argue from the idea of like, well, why can't women be sexual? Like what's wrong with wrong with having like a female character that's sexual? Because like for the longest time we told women not to be that, to not express themselves through their sexuality and through like how they present themselves in like a revealing kind of way. But at the same time, it's like that's cool, but if you've got a male creator that's making it, it's not really women expressing themselves. It's that guy expressing how he wants that woman to look. So it's not, it's not like a woman going out and just like wanting to not wear a bra and have like a tank top on and like short shorts and being like, why are you wearing that? That's too revealing. And her being like, well, this is what I choose to do. I'm expressing myself. This is what I want to look like. Like that's her decision to do that. But with this, it's more like this dude's just making that decision, It's not really representative of women.
If it's
a guy doing it,
But if it's a guy deciding to change her outfit to make it less revealing, isn't that him deciding how he wants a woman to look like?
I suppose, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I never had a problem with the outfit, but I also was never one of the guys that would like watch shows and be like, anime titties, I love them. Like I don't know. It was never my thing. So
no, one thing that's frustrating to me is like I never pay attention, and like when Hazel and I watch anime and it's like if they focus on like an anime boob for a little too long, she's like, so what? And I'm like, oh no, what it is it's like usually like no I misclassified that. It's like we'll watch an anime or we're playing a video game and it's like there's a lot of focus on like the big boobs, and it's like, well, there aren't big boobs in real life? There aren't some women and it's like it'll be in an anime that also has a flat-chested girl next to a, and it's like
yeah. I mean, they could easily have made oh damn it, what's her name? The little girl with the crazy goggles, and she's always like, Ed.
Oh yeah.
They could have easily made Ed like, there's plenty of animes that have like 14-year-old girls in it that look like they're like 25 with like huge boobs and stuff, and it's just like real awkward and stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, you're 15. This isn't creepy at all. But like they make Faye they make Ed just like a normal girl,
Yeah.
I
didn't even know Ed was a girl for the longest time.
I love your point that it's like being a Bond, like a Bond girl, where or like a femme fatale, where it's like the sexuality is part of the character that allows them to, if you're in a man's world and men are definitely driven by their penises, and you're trying to screw guys over and like steal from them and stuff, the best way is to get them all disarmed with how good you look and then just take off with all their money.
Yeah.
And that's basically how she's presented. And
one more side note before we jump off of Cowboy Bebop.
Mm-hmm.
You said that was like was that the first show, your introduction to anime?
No, I think my first show was probably like, like Pokemon and Digimon and stuff like that. But it was the first one that made me look at it in terms of like an actual like story medium.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that you mention it, that's true for me as well. I watched Pokemon when it originally came out, but I never looked at it as an anime. It was just a cartoon.
Yeah, I didn't.
And
I don't think when I was a kid I realized like what the difference was.
And the same was true for Dragon Ball, because I watched Dragon Ball Z on like regular Saturday morning cartoons. So it's the same thing for me. I didn't recognize it as a separate medium. And then so my first introduction to actual like anime, was Akira.
Oh jeez, yeah. Okay, yeah, that was one of mine too, but it was like definitely after like Cowboy Bebop and stuff.
That is a hardcore first drop into anime. It was like,
oh yeah, it was. I think it was like right around the time I started watching like Trigun and Cowboy Bebop, because they were on a Cartoon Network. There were also like random, like the cable networks like Cinemax and and HBO that like randomly there would be like Vampire Hunter D and stuff, and like these uber violent ones that I'd watch, and I'd be like, oh man, is this what anime is too? Like this is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I actually miss that Adult Swim used to do like, it was like Saturdays would be anime day, and then it was like every Saturday they would do a different anime movie.
Yeah,
and I miss them doing that.
I think I never could stay up late enough for those, because they usually had them be like later on so that they could show more mature stuff. But one of the ones that I saw, I think, was like Heavy Metal or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And that was that movie is so bizarre. Oh man. Anyhow,
a good bad one, and this will be the last thing I say about this. A really good bad one is Read or Die. Have you ever seen? It was actually supposed to be like a 3 or 4 part miniseries, but they typically just cram it all into one movie.
No, I don't remember this. No.
She Agent Paper. She has the capacity to like manipulate and control paper.
Okay.
And she can make it like hard as steel, or she can make it into an airplane and fly.
Oh, okay.
But it's brilliant.
Was she like
and
super
stupid.
good at origami?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's brilliant and stupid.
Okay. Kind of. For some reason, the first thing that popped into my head was like the movie The Birds, where like there's somebody in like that phone booth, and all these ravens start like crashing into it, and I'm just imagining like these like metal paper airplanes just like smashing into this phone booth, and they're like, oh my god. Are you a fan of wrestling that lives in the Pittsburgh area? Do you enjoy punk rock? How about diversity and inclusion? Well, Enjoy Wrestling, a new promotion set to launch in 2020, is here for you. Though they're a startup, the folks at Enjoy have years of experience booking punk shows, promoting bands, and putting out records. They're also pretty well versed in wrestling, too, having done commentary, videography, graphic design, and social media for many high-profile independent companies. Enjoy Wrestling wants to bring the most talented wrestlers out there to Pittsburgh, regardless of gender, race, or sexual orientation. That same ethos applies to their audience as well, as they strive to create an inclusive and diverse wrestling community aimed at developing a supportive environment for marginalized fans. You can find Enjoy Wrestling on Twitter @EnjoyWrestle, on Instagram @Instagram.com/EnjoyWrestling, or you can contact them directly via email at enjoywrestlingpgh@gmail.com. This is where my mind goes.
All right.
So at this point we would get into our Nonsensory Recommends for the day, for the episode. But we felt that it was important for us to, along with so many other people that have done this, is to just kind of address what's going on in America right now, particularly with the protests going on and the in response to the death of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and countless other black Americans at the hands of the police. And in Ahmaud Arbery's scenario of, just random vigilante white people. But it felt necessary for us to like acknowledge it, and for us to say, we don't have a very big audience. We're both two white guys, from, suburban Pennsylvania. We don't face any of the same harsh realities of life as any of our audience that happens to be Black or African American or, minority. Just we just want to put our support out there for you and say that we're thinking of you, and that we realize that times are tough and that they've always been tough for you, and that it sucks that it takes what has happened recently for everybody to kind of step back and take notice and pay attention. But your struggle has been going on for far too long, and hopefully we're moving towards a more just society that treats you more equally and respects you as people instead of as others. And so, that being said, we thought that we would dedicate this Nonsensory Recommends to Black creators.
If I could take it away. So I really wanted to do this with you because I actually had my preconceived notions challenged through all of this. My opinion has always been that this can't be something that's actually going on. It can't be all that bad. It's, it's all overblown.
Yeah.
Or, well, through talking to a good friend of mine, he woke me up.
Yeah.
And I, took a step back and I actually paid attention to my own experiences. I've lived in St. Mary's County, Maryland. It's a heavily Black community, and so I met a lot of really good people. Mm-hmm. And my nieces and nephews are they're half Black,
mm-hmm.
And but I've never really given it the thought that I should. I'm like, I'm a white person. Like, I saw a comic on one of those little short web comic things. Somebody posted, and it was like a couple of bald eagles sitting talking, like while reading the newspaper, and the one goes, "Do you think owls are predators?" And the other eagle goes, "Well, then an owl's never messed with me. I don't know what Mouse's problem is."
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a dumb way for it to hit me, but once I read it, it was like, of course I don't see it,
Right.
So I thought this was really important. And there was another thing that we're going to talk about, but I'd ask you that we save that till we both read our actual recommends.
Oh, yeah.
To jump into that. But there was another thing that really opened my eyes just today. So, do you want to take the start of this one, or do you want?
Yeah, sure. So, by us talking about Black creators, we wanted to just shine a light on some voices that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, that really speak to the Black experience, and as a way to educate yourself and to kind of get a different perspective than maybe you have had in the past. And I think that the best thing that you can do, and like Joe just talked about, is, he listened. He listened and didn't talk. He was open to other people's experiences, and it opened his eyes. And I think that that's, as a country, that's the best thing that we can do. And so I recommend that everybody go out and read August Wilson's Pittsburgh cycle of plays. It's also referred to as the Century Cycle, and it basically goes through 100 years of Black history through as written by August Wilson. and they take place in Pittsburgh, which isn't a part of the reason that I'm saying this, but it's just coincidental that I also live in Pittsburgh.
It adds a level of coolness to
Yeah,
it.
and if you are from Pittsburgh, they take place in the Hill District, which is a traditionally very, very culturally black neighborhood and historically black neighborhood in Pittsburgh. The Hill District basically takes on a mythic literary significance like Thomas Hardy's Wessex or William Faulkner's Yoknapatawpha County. This is right up from that I kind of pulled a little bit from Wikipedia. But basically, the plays are each set in a different decade, and they basically go through the evolving black experience in America, but set in Pittsburgh's Hill District. And it was meant to, for August Wilson, he wanted to raise consciousness through theater and echo the poetry and the everyday language of black America. And my two favorite from this series are the plays Fences and Joe Turner's Come and Gone. I guess I'll start with Joe Turner's Come and Gone because it starts earlier. It's set in Pittsburgh in 1911 and is chronicles the lives of a few freed former enslaved African Americans in the North and deals with the conflicts of racism and discrimination as well as themes of identity and migration. The play was first staged in 1984 at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center in Waterford, Connecticut, and opened on Broadway on March 27th, 1988 at the Ethel Barrymore Theater, running for 105 performances. Directed by Lloyd Richards, the cast included Delroy Lindo as Harold Loomis, and the television movie starred Angela Bassett as Loomis's wife, Martha. Yeah, I would 100% check out Joe Turner's Come and Gone. It's the second of his books, I believe. I think it's the second plays. It's been forever since I read them, sadly, because I read them in college. But it centers basically on like spirituality and coming to grips with like the new role that African Americans have to play within a society that doesn't know them or really understand them at all, and how they come to grips with their own role in that and how they become Americans and also connect with their African roots and how they're constantly pulled between the expectations that they have from their families and from their culture and from their new culture and their new place in America. And Fences explores the evolving African American experience and examines race relations, among other themes. The play won the 1987 Pulitzer Prize for Drama and the 1987 Tony Award for Best Play. It explores the themes of mortality, dreams, hopes and plans, family, betrayal, duty, and racial dissatisfaction. The play also was first developed at the Eugene O'Neill Theater in 1983. It first developed at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center's 1983 National Playwrights Conference and premiered at the Yale Repertory Theater in 1985.
Oh,
sorry about that.
We're over time.
It was adapted into a 2016 film starring Denzel Washington, Viola Davis, and Stephen McKinley Henderson.
I was going to say that I saw that. I didn't see it, but now I want to go and watch it because I saw this was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that they had adapted it recently. I thought that it would have been like an older adaptation because the play itself came out in 1983. But I'll just say that August Wilson is an amazing playwright, and he says a lot about the black experience within how like the he communicates so well the language of how it's a very moving play, and they're very profound kind of plays that speak on the black experience, but they're also very grounded in common language, so that they're very conversational, and they all pretty much focus on like blue collar um, families and everything, and I think that they're very relatable. Not just they're relatable to, you know, the experience of when I read them in college. I was having trouble figuring out who I was, and I'm not, you know, I'm just a white guy. I don't know. I don't have inherent like experience with any of the struggle that the black community does, but what I what initially pulled me in was the idea of identity and trying to figure out who you are. And you know, from that it allowed me to be open to a lot more conversations and experiences than I would have, I think. So I would recommend that everybody go read August Wilson's Pittsburgh Cycle. It's beautiful and incredible, and in that it spans so much history, and it really does just give you an evolving idea of the black experience in America. And yeah, they're really cheap books too. They're only like $10-15 per each one. They're not very long. They are plays, so they don't, you know, they read a little differently, but I've always really had more of a connection with plays than I do really books with like novels and stuff, because there's that extra layer of like performance that you have to consider when you're reading it, and like how all that would play out, and like the meaning of the visual medium too, and how they present it, that adds to like the themes and what the author's trying to say. And there's also the human element of like the actors just really care about those things. They live the experience of being in these plays, and there's such a community around them. And being that all the plays focus on the African American experience, and they're all mostly, you know, led by black main characters played by prominent black actors and stuff. It's just, you can just tell that they really galvanize around the fact that they're expressing just a racial united kind of pain, but also passion for trying to tell the truth. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I would highly recommend that you go and check that out. There we go. I don't know what happened there, but and I would also go and see the movie Moonlight, which
I feel like you're like blowing my mine out of the water. I recommend.
It's okay. But yeah, I would watch the movie Moonlight if I was going to suggest another piece of black media or African American, you know, led media, because it's the first, I think it's here. Let me look it up. It became the first film with an all-black cast, the first LGBTQ related film, and the second lowest grossing film domestically to win the Oscar for Best Picture. Joy McMillan became the first black woman to be nominated for an editing Oscar, and Mahershala Ali became the first Muslim to win an acting Oscar. It's, I really love this movie because it really reminds me of like a play, because it's not separated into acts, but it's separated into different stages of this man's life, and it tells his whole experience. It's a very coming of age movie, and yeah, I would definitely check it out because it's top down. It's written and directed by you know, an African American. It's an all black cast. It's a really beautiful movie. So
I think that makes it my turn for.
Correct.
Okay. So I actually picked out for my TV show. I remember when I was little, I don't remember how old, but there was a cartoon called Static Shock, and it has a black superhero
Yeah,
as the main character. And even then, I thought that was really cool.
Mhm.
And I actually like watching it. I always wanted to be like I was like, oh, cool. I want to have that ability with the electricity and everything.
Mhm.
It was really cool. So it's I don't know about as far as creator and things like that, if they're how much of it is from a black um, writers and stuff.
Mhm.
But it's got a black main character, and just in the write-up you can see it deals with some like relevant things. So in Dakota City, Virgil Hawkins is an ordinary kid who gets into big trouble, which gets him pressured into joining a street gang. That night, Virgil's gang has a major rumble at a chemical storage yard that the police interrupt by tear gassing the lot. That gassing accidentally detonates a series of chemical explosions that creates the infamous Bang Baby incident that affects all the gangs and more. For instance, Virgil gains the powerful ability to project and control electricity at will. With the help of his inventive friend Richie, who would much later get his own powers to become gear, Virgil decides to become a superhero. Static, as it happens. This new career is well timed considering many of the surviving members, Rumblers, also become superpowered themselves and become dangerous supervillains. Against the new and growing threat, Static is determined to fight for justice, even while his personal life gets a major shock to its system. The first episode was September 23rd, 2000, and it went for 4 seasons and ended in 2004.
Yeah, I think I forgot about this show, and then you brought it up, and I immediately remember just really actually loving this show.
It's a really good show,
and which is strange because it wasn't involved with anything like I knew who Spider-Man was, I knew who Batman was, but I never had heard of Static Shock, and I'm not sure if it was adapted from like a comic or if it was its own original creation. But what sticks out to me is it was like the first time as a kid that I had ever seen a black superhero.
Yeah.
And it's there's still very few of them, to be honest.
Oh yeah. I mean, Luke Cage.
Yeah, Luke Cage. But I mean, in terms of major,
Oh yeah.
it's taken us. We've gotten Static Shock,
And Black Panther.
We got Black Panther, Blade, Luke Cage,
Blade's. Oh.
but
Yeah.
that it's the amount of black characters in superhero comics is very much dwarfed by
I'll be
Spawn.
I mean, while we're on this, I mean, the whole idea is around what's going on right now is making people realize. I feel like the dearth of black content out there, and the really the lack of representation in the black community, and that's what I've really become so. I wish I could find the words that I actually mean to say to actually make it sound smarter, but I just become very aware of the lack of black people in our culture,
in our entertainment.
and it's really a shame. And so just while we're on the just bringing up the honesty and all that, I remember when I was a kid and I saw him, my initial reaction was because he was the first black superhero I saw, it was there's a black superhero, black people can't be superheroes, because that's all I saw. It wasn't I didn't think it was a racist thing at the time, but it was just I'd never seen one. It's can you do that? And I mean, that right there, I mean, that says it all.
Yeah, and it's not, I think it's interesting because you're talking about how having these voices and these characters in our media kind of normalizes the idea of black voices and black characters as a thing that we should just expect and kind of accept. as a more normal thing. And when you look at it, it really sticks out that we just kind of never even consider it. And then when you do consider it, it's just kind of like a kick to the face. Like, how have I not noticed this? Why have I not, understood? And when you look, yeah,
No. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
it's okay. But I don't want to divert too much. I want to let you.
I was just gonna say. I mean, Tenet's coming out. That's another black main character, and it looks awesome.
Yeah.
I hopefully we'll see more and more of that. I mean, it feels like we've been making some slow progress on getting more.
Yeah, we're a mostly entertainment centered podcast, so it seems it isn't as it's not as important to talk about like black comic characters and all that stuff, but again, it's just part of the representation of it,
Right.
in that black people make up 55, or there are 55 million black people in the United States, or 55 million African Americans in the United States, and we if I were to go out and ask for like a handful of like compared to the number of shows that star white people and have majority white casts and stuff, it's just like it dwarfs it, and it's just the representation just isn't there, and that ties into the larger, more important issues that are out there. Because when you talk about everything that's going on, we're talking about like the legal system and racism, and how white Americans see the African American community and all that stuff. And you're never gonna give them you're never gonna give the topic the proper care and consideration if they're always presented as this other that you rarely see. You rarely see in your in the media that you consume.
When I was growing up, I always noticed that there are, especially like recently, and this is where I was saying I had my preconceived notions challenged. It's like I would see, like, there's Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman and the Wayans brothers, and I just said his name outside, Wayne Brady and Dave Chappelle, and like I'd see these black actors, and I'm also quite aware that I named off all men, but
yeah, right.
But that's another issue.
Yeah.
But it's like once that's not that many.
Well, right, yeah. The idea being that when somebody says like there's not enough black representation in Hollywood, then you go, what are you talking about? There's this guy and this guy and this, and then you name like 10 guys, and then but you could go down the list of literally thousands and thousands and of all these white actors. And that's emblematic of the issue that we're talking about.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to get at, is like those names I just named, that's almost all of them.
Well, and it's also like the most famous ones.
Yeah.
It's like I can name like mid-tier freaking actors that are white.
Yeah.
But try to get me to name like I'm a B-level or C-level black celebrity, and I'm like struggling to do it, and that's part of it.
Yeah. So, that was a long digression there, but I think it was necessary.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So my next recommendation is for a movie. This is Glory. I'm just gonna go in to read it. This might be a bit of a hard one to. There's some parts that were really hard to watch, I think. But Glory is a 1989 American war film directed by Edward Zwick about the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment. The Union Army's 2nd African American Regiment in the American Civil War. It stars Matthew Broderick as Colonel Robert Goldshaw, the regiment's commanding officer, and Denzel Washington, Cary Elwes, and Morgan Freeman as fictional members of the 54th. The screenplay by Kevin Jarre was based on the books Lay This Laurel, 1973, by Lincoln Kirsten, and One Gallant Rush by Peter Burchard, and the personal letters of Shaw. The film depicts the soldiers of the 54th from the formation of the regiments to their heroic actions at the Second Battle of Fort Wagner. Glory was nominated for 5 Academy Awards and won 3, including Best Supporting Actor for Denzel Washington. It won many other awards from, among others, the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, the Golden Globe Awards, the Kansas City Film Critics Circle, the Political Film Society, and the NAACP Image Awards. The film was co-produced by TriStar Pictures and Freddie Fields Productions and distributed by TriStar Pictures in the United States. It premiered in limited release in the United States on December 14th, 1989. And this is, okay, there we go. Basically, the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment was an all-black unit in the Civil War that actually fought actively against the South. I mean, that's against slavery to free their, how much more relevant can you get, and it's a powerful movie. And again, it was kind of hard to watch, but I absolutely recommend it. It's an awesome movie just as a movie. It's an awesome movie as, to celebrate black heroes in our history. Mm-hmm. And I mean, watch that movie and not cry. I dare you.
Yeah, I had a history teacher. His name was Mr. Foster, and he was, he is African American, and he made us watch Glory, and he was just like, this is probably like the easiest way that I can get you to kind of, because it's part of the Civil War, so we're also studying up on the Civil War, but it was his way of saying, like, don't think of, you're going to think of slavery and freeing the slaves and think that it was like this benevolent white thing to, like, to want to free the slaves, and the North was like so just and stuff, like wanting to do that. And it was basically like, no, you need to realize the struggle even in this, in this war of all the black soldiers and all the,
they wouldn't give them equipment.
Yeah. It was,
they went without shoes.
It was kind of like it was like, I won't allow you to kind of think of it as being like white versus white conflict to free the slaves. It was also like, no, the slaves, freed slaves were, and slaves themselves were actively taking part in this conflict to free themselves. And, it wasn't, it was kind of, it felt like kind of a thing to address, like the white savior complex of like,
yeah,
all the good white people came around to free all the black people because they thought the other white people were bad. And it was just like, no, it was kind of like,
that's like a sugarcoating.
Yeah, it was a sugarcoating of it. And it was, African Americans had to fight tooth and nail.
Yeah, and even the movie kind of goes into a little bit about. Well, I think it's actually a big part of it. Actually, is that they weren't going to be put on the front lines. They were gonna, all be like, he had to fight to get. For them to get on the front lines was a struggle. Mm-hmm. But they were gonna, we'll give you, so that for the history books we can say, we let them fight, but they were gonna be a labor force.
Yeah,
in the back line, and it's like, just to. It's a good movie. It's a fantastic movie, and I think it. But I'm gonna move on now. You may have noticed something. Neither one of us did a game.
Yeah, no.
So this is the other kick in the gut.
Yeah.
We were putting this list together once we talked and we agreed to do this. We went and I started looking at Okay, so how about some black games or black main character games? And go look it up. See what you find.
Yeah, it's really disgusting, to be honest. When you look through the history of video games, and you don't really have nearly any black main characters, you know.
To be, I mean, there like a lot of video games are like it's a largely Japanese culture for the longest thing. But it's had plenty of time now that there should be some black presence.
Yeah, and we struggled to even. I mean, we struggled to find any real sense of black representation in video games, and it's not even just main characters. It's like when you go back and you look through like all the studio heads that make these games, all the game directors and stuff. Where's the black voices? You know, it's mostly just white male studio heads making games that star white leads, and all the meaningful black characters are still relegated to being side characters.
Yeah, we were gonna maybe say God of War because the voice actor's a black guy. What I forgot his name.
Christopher Judge. Yeah,
I love his voice. But how sad is that? You have to go with a black actor who's actually just playing a white guy.
Yeah. He you know, you look at it and it's, you know, Kratos isn't a black guy, but you know they're perfectly willing to have Christopher Judge voice him because he has a deep baritone voice, but they would never make him look like Christopher Judge, you know.
Well, I mean he's Greek, so I mean,
right? Well, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's a fair point. But you know, it's just the video games have a long way to go.
Yes,
and I understand it's like it's a newer medium, so it's definitely going to be behind the curve of even other mediums that still aren't very good at representation, like film and television. But it's just you're never going to see these characters until you put people in charge that are also going to push for this representation too. And
this is the biggest thing that really like opened my eyes to the necessity of allowing black voices to be heard right now. Why did I feel like I got quieter.
I think you just got more somber as a time.
Yeah. Well, I say right now, but I mean to be heard. There needs to be more representation. It was really sad when I saw that. I saw a video a guy did. I'd love to give a shout out, but I don't remember his name. He didn't have many views like us. So
right.
But it was like the top 5 black characters in video games, and it was so sad. Like he got 3 characters that were like in actual games that are out right now, and then he had to like reach ahead to 2 games that aren't even out yet to have a list of 5 characters.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and like I just know that all the black characters that I know from video games are just side characters, and it makes me sad. You know, it's just like I think of the brothers from The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And I think of like Barrett, who's like, you know, he's a fairly main character in Final Fantasy VII, but he's also like kind of a caricature of, you know, where he talks like this the whole time, and he's just like really bombastically angry and stuff like that, and it's just, you know, there's no nuance there, and it's just
that's not representation.
And that's just what comes to mind. And then when you like try to look into it and go like, well, maybe I just missed it, you know, and then you just can't find like nearly anything that's there at all, and you're like, how does this happen, you know? So
no, I think that's I think that'll be a wrap for today. I think you know,
I think the last thing that we would just say is like go out, support black creators in your entertainment. You know, listen to black voices. about their experiences and, really.
I'll just say there are a lot of very loud, extreme voices on I don't want to say either side, but I think everyone knows what I mean when I say that. That are drowning out the cries of people who do need to be heard. And if those people would shut up and just listen, that'd be great.
Yeah.
You're not doing anyone any favors by behaving this way.
Yeah.
So, I just want to say that I'm listening.
Yeah. Yeah. We're listening. We support you. And just everybody be safe and be better.
Yeah.
And when we see you next, hopefully things will have at least calmed down a bit. And, that's not to say that we won't have to have these conversations, because the whole point is to not be tireless in your quest to understand other people and to educate yourself. So continue to do that. But in terms of like the actual unrest in the streets and stuff, hopefully those things calm down and we can get back to some sense of normalcy, even outside of.
We should all always be growing.
Yeah. That's the best way to put it. I think it's to just keep growing, keep your mind open, and keep asking questions, keep asking what you can do, and just keep trying to improve yourself. So,
how do we normally close these things out? I don't even it's so somber. I don't.
Peace, be easy.
Later.